Gray is here on the Blaze Radio Network.
Welcome to it. Great to have you with us. 888-900-3393. We are jam-packed full of stuff today. Paul Kengor is going to be with us about an hour and a half from now. You might remember him from the book about Barack Obama's mentor, Frank Marshall Davis. Remember that? Mm-hmm. He's done many other things since, of course. He didn't just do that and then he retired. He's done many things. Professor of political science at Grove City College in Grove City, Pennsylvania. But he's written a bunch of books. And his latest is The Devil and Karl Marx. Nice. Mm-hmm. Should be fascinating because Karl Marx is a hero to so many people on the left. And it's hard to understand when you know who and what Karl Marx was all about. Just discounting, his political and economic theories. The guy himself was a complete and total douchebag, racist, anti-Semite, to name just a few things. So we'll talk to Paul Kengor at 7:30-ish. Some tweets to finish up from yesterday's show. Pathead Stosh tweeted us after seeing the guy in Taiwan get the nasal swab from the robot. What was that swab, like 4.5 feet long? Jammed almost the whole thing up his nose?
That's a conservative estimate.
I love that they stick it in there and then they go to another angle. And now I'm really going to push it. I'm going to push it all the way back.
And somebody tweeted me out like how it goes down his throat and all this stuff.
I would have thrown up.
Yeah. And in fact, I was supposed to have a procedure like that a long time ago. And I couldn't. I was just like, it literally started in half an inch. I was like,
yeah, no, thank you.
We're done here.
No. Anyway, Stosh says that guy's the Bronco Nagurski of Taiwan.
It
didn't even faze him.
No, that's the other thing.
Unless that was all CGI. Maybe it was CGI. Maybe that's what it was.
I think you cracked the code.
I think so. There's no superhuman people like that can take that thing all the way to the frontal lobe of their brain.
No, you're right. That was fake news.
Yeah. Mailbox Hero tweets, so instead of a period at the end of the text sentences, are we supposed to put stop like they used to do for telegrams?
Yeah, because, the period, that
scaring people.
It triggers people.
And from James Stewart, now I know why my tweets aren't read on the air. Too many periods. Oh, James, are we not reading James Stewart's?
Daniel, look for James Stewart tweets today.
Are we not reading James Stewart's text messages on the air? What are you working for Potter now?
Obviously,
Keith,
we are. Yeah,
James Stewart deserves to have his text read.
I won't even call you Jimmy because obviously we're missing each other on the Twitter there.
Yep, apparently. All right, 888-900-3393 and at Pat Unleashed on Twitter. The campaign now is really kind of heating up.
Ooh.
After both conventions, now the Democrats are responding to everything the Republicans said, because I think it was pretty effective last week.
Yeah.
I think it scared the crap out of them.
We saw the numbers yesterday, remember, with blacks and Hispanics both going up, and that was only halfway through the convention.
Yeah, and it got better as the week went on, I think. I guess the Democrats did a little better numbers-wise. On TV, they outrated the Republican convention in all 4 nights. Well, 3 out of the 4 nights. Night number 2, the Republicans beat the Democrats. That was with Melania, too. You would have thought that when Trump spoke on Thursday night, that would have been the one to win, but it wasn't. Anyway, I think they woke up the Democrats and realized that they're in a fight now. The Republicans did a really nice job of putting responsibility where it belongs, right in the lap of Democrats. For the state of the economy, for their Marxism, for the unrest going on in this country. That's all Democratic stuff. And the Republicans, they made a mark last week. They drew some blood. And I think they've scared the Democrats just a little bit because Biden is responding to everything now. Every single thing. He's even responded to the Joe Biden's America thing. Phenomenal that they've gotten him into defense mode instead of on the offensive.
I like it.
Yeah, love it. And just to give you a little idea as to some of the responsibility, some of the onus the Democrats hold for what's going on in our streets right now, for the unrest that happens night after night after night in this country, in Democrat cities. Check out this montage of these politicians and journalists talking about unrest.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
I see.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
They go low.
All Democrats.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him. Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Oh my gosh!
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
Look at this. Wow.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Not welcome
And
anywhere,
sadly,
anywhere.
the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day.
Oh.
And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels.
I did.
This isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
Make a note of it.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Wow. Is there a clearer example of who's been inciting what in this country? It is the left. They've been saying it for the last 3.5 years. Get out in the streets and cause unrest. They wanted these riots, and now they've got them. And now they're trying to blame the president for them. It's despicable. It's pathetic. And hopefully it's transparent enough that most Americans, the vast majority of Americans will see through it. I sure hope that's the case, because wow. Look at that. Had that been Republicans and Fox News encouraging Tea Party violence like that, what would have happened here? Jeez.
I mean, it's no longer dangerous. It's, in some cases, deadly.
Yeah.
Where we are.
In quite a few cases. Jeez. Really, absolutely amazing when you see it laid out like that, back to back. I forgot about some of those occurrences.
But remember, holy hell is raised if someone says, let's target their district.
Yeah.
If a Republican says that.
Those days don't come back.
Ooh.
That's like nursery school stuff to what they're doing. Interestingly, NPR is a little bit worried that calling riots is racist. Earlier in the week, they hosted a guest who defended looting per an earlier report from the Daily Wire. Also fretted openly that labeling the 3-month-long period of unrest in Portland a riot could be an example of internalized racism.
Oh, God. Why? I can't, man.
Let's try to understand that particular theory for a second. it seems to me the only way that could be racist is if you're insinuating that everybody who's rioting is a certain color, right?
Yeah.
That only they can riot, that there's not a mixture of people, that it's not, spread out through the demographic population. Assuming all rioters are one race, say black, that makes you the racist. NPR? Wow. That's just bizarre. I mean, that happens all the time, too. They show their racism through the things that they're worried about being racist. Really? Huh. Okay. It's like the word apartment is racist because you're assuming that only blacks live in an apartment. What is the word Chicago?
That's right.
Assumed racism. Mm-hmm. What? These people are psychotic. 888-900-3393. And they're eating their own, too. J.K. Rowling returned her Robert F. Kennedy Award because she got blasted by the president of the R.F. Kennedy Human Rights Organization because she's transphobic.
Because she dares to say a woman is a woman and a man is a man? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Boy, they're still pissed at her for that. So she got sick of it and gave them back their award. Here, take this. So that's great. In a memo posted on the organization's website, Kerry Kennedy, the president, strongly criticized Rowling's troubling transphobic tweets from earlier in the summer, alleging she used her gifts as a writer to demean transgender people. Over the course of June of 2020, LGBTQIA2 plus Pride Month, and much to my dismay, J.K. Rowling posted deeply troubling transphobic tweets and statements. On June 6th, she tweeted an article headlined, "Opinion, Creating a More Equal Post-COVID-19 World for People Who Menstruate."
That's catchy.
Well, that's obviously transphobic.
Yeah.
Because if you're a man who is now a woman, I guess you can't menstruate. So that's leaving out that segment of women, right? She wrote glibly and dismissively about transgender identity. People who menstruate. I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Wumben, wimpend, woomud.
What? Help us! I am doing everything to avoid using my inside voice out loud.
Right. Kennedy emphasized that she herself categorically rejects the concept that people's birth sex is the primary and determining factor of one's gender.
I mean, that's
unbelievable.
Yeah,
such old think.
Come on.
Such old think when you're going with science, and truth.
We're goodbye. Help us.
Think about that statement for a second.
Mm-hmm.
She categorically rejects the concept that people's birth sex is the primary and determinative factor of one's gender. Okay, you can deny reality all you want. You can call things that don't exist. You can pretend you're something you're not. It just doesn't make it so. A trans woman might want desperately to be able to give birth to a baby and menstruate. I don't know why you'd want to.
Right?
Most women I know hate it.
Right.
They all complain about it.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a big thing to complain about not being able to do. Jeez. But to deny the reality that the primary determinative factor of your gender is your birth sex, I mean, it's just asinine. It's asinine. You're just denying science and you're denying reality. Oh, but we're the ones. Mm-hmm. Conservatives and Republicans are the ones who deny science. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me tell you about Patriot Mobile. While the left embraces cancel culture, let's get in on that action. Cancel your leftist supporting cell phone provider and make the switch to America's only conservative cell phone carrier, Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile shares your values. They won't ever charge you a hidden fee. And unlike Big Mobile, they don't send your hard-earned money to Planned Parenthood and other ridiculous causes. Get the same reliable nationwide service. Support a company that loves this country and shares your values, supports our Constitution, and puts people first. Right now, when you join their family of freedom-loving Americans, you can get free activation and a free gift when you use the offer code PAT. So you don't have to compromise quality for, your values. It's great. They make everything really easy. You can switch but still keep your phone number. You can switch and get a new phone or keep your old one. Doesn't matter. They'll accommodate you. Call 972-PATRIOT today. 972-PATRIOT. Get your customized plan starting at just $25 a month. PatriotMobile.com/PAT.
Pat Gray is unleashed.
888-900-3393. Also, at Pat Unleashed on Twitter. There's just so much I don't even... Jim Gaffigan, what a disappointment, that guy. I think we mentioned that briefly yesterday.
Yes, not fun.
He's known as the clean comedian. Listen to how clean he was when he was talking about Trump.
Wow.
I don't give an F. If anyone thinks this is virtual signaling or whatever, we need to call Trump the con man and thief that he is.
Oh, boy.
Jeez.
Hot Pockets.
Somebody's not feeling very well right now. Somebody's angry.
Yeah.
What happened, Jim?
Hot Pocket.
He slammed Trump for his incompetent handling of the COVID-19 crisis. All those people didn't need to die. The comic also warned Trump is a fascist who has no belief in law. Oh, okay. Sure. Right. That's amazing. I mean, the Democrats have looked the other way on this rioting the entire 3 or 4 months, however long this has been going on.
Look the other way. They encouraged it. We just played the montage, man. They planted those seeds for the last several years.
Sure did. I think I know I've seen my last Jim Gaffigan special on Netflix or anywhere else.
Hot Pocket.
He didn't care. He doesn't give an F.
No, he erupted. That was Thursday night, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Thursday night during the speech. He just...
went off.
Yep.
And not in a Jim Gaffigan way either.
No, it was ugly.
Jeez.
There was a lot of... He doesn't like you if you support Trump, that's for sure.
Right. He made that dang clear, didn't he?
He said he didn't even care. Yeah, it's like whatever.
He didn't care. All right. Well, good. Then I don't care to watch any of his stuff again.
I guess for the last several decades, he's hidden his feelings well, made his millions, and now he can tell us what he thinks about us.
Right. The ones who have made him a multi-millionaire and so successful. And then turns around and spits in our face. Okay. Yeah, you think it's Democrats, you think it's progressives who have no moral foundation whatsoever that were your base? No. No. They're watching Louis Black or whatever that guy's name is. Yeah. That's who they're watching.
His net worth, $30 million, Jim Gaffigan.
Jeez.
So he can type away and not care what you think.
Yep. Now he can attack the very people. He's biting the hand that fed him. All of the all of those cliches that you can think of that come to mind right now apply to Jim Gaffigan. It's aggravating, and it's so disappointing.
That's the word. That's the word.
Really, really disappointing, because you like this guy. You want to see him do well, because I like the fact that he was a comedian who you could watch with the whole family, pretty much. Him and what's the other guy? Oh, Regan, Brian Regan.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Those two guys, you can watch them. You can watch them with the family. They're funny.
Jeff Foxworthy, baby.
Foxworthy.
Uh-huh.
Yep. So now we still have Regan. And we still have Foxworthy, I think.
I'm not
maybe Googling. Larry the Cable Guy.
Oh, get her done.
What are you, from Russia?
Yeah.
So there you go. And meanwhile, Jim Gaffigan can support this guy. Watch this guy that Jim Gaffigan supports get through a thought yesterday. This is fantastic. This shows you how sharp this man would be in the White House.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. What? It's just, when you think about it.
I can't. You didn't
more
give me
lives
anything
this
to think
year
about.
than any other year for the past 100 years.
What? Really?
What are we thinking about? I haven't even established what we're supposed to be thinking about. That was so bad.
Wow. So we haven't seen that moment for a couple of weeks. He's kind of kept it together, it seems like. And then yesterday, not so much. I don't know. Was that even on teleprompter, or is that just a thought that?
I think so. I think it was.
And then the teleprompter went bad, and he couldn't figure out what was going on.
The teleprompter went bad. His brain went bad.
Watch this again. This is amazing.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives.
Pause it for a second. Every time he runs into trouble like that, every time he has a complete mind F, he stops and says, look, like, okay, yeah, I made my point there. I'm going to go on to something else right now. But then, because his brain doesn't work this way, this quickly, he's got nowhere to go from there. He doesn't know where else to go.
Yeah.
And so he's got nothing else to do. And he's just stuck.
When he gets flustered or doesn't know how to respond, you're right. He hits the word look as his crutch.
Yep.
He did it with the guy, look, fat.
Right. Exactly.
He runs into trouble.
Look is his go-to word because that's going to restart his thought process. Except for the fact that his thought process isn't quick enough anymore to catch up to that. So he starts out with his 100-year thing. Look, this year's 100-year. Look, and then he goes into the same problem.
Oh man!
Start this from the beginning again because it's really something else.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. It's just.
What are you trying to say?
Think about it. More lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
Okay, is that a real fact?
I don't know.
Just since COVID started,
okay,
more lives have been lost than in the last 100 years.
To COVID, I guess, since it wasn't around.
But is he saying that more people have died just overall
from a virus?
In America? No, from everything. Because of the virus, it has killed so many people that it's pushed the total death count in America past any other year in the last 100 years. That's what I think he's trying to say.
All right, so
I don't know if that's true.
Pat Gray has joined the Joe Biden campaign, explaining whatever that guy was trying to say. I mean, but good try to help him out there.
I'm trying to make something out of it.
It's sad, man.
I haven't heard that statistic, if that's true.
Can you see him sitting in a meeting face to face with Vladimir Putin?
Oh my gosh!
Seriously.
He runs circles around him
he's
mentally.
Just like, so you've got missiles in Crimea.
Look. Okay, you know the thing, Vlad. You know the thing. No, I don't.
Have a good flight back to DC.
I mean, that would be a disaster. It would be an absolute disaster for this guy to be president of the United States. Hopefully, America realizes it. Hopefully, America, by at least November, will realize it. And not put this guy in the White House. You can't. We just can't do it.
So what month do you think we will have a winner declared, Pat?
I just read an article the other day that it might not be done the count may not be over by Inauguration Day.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you know who's president?
Mm-hmm.
Nancy Pelosi, for at least the time being, until they get the count done.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's really fun, isn't it?
Oh.
And they're pretending like the mail-in thing is not an issue at all.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was a Democrat operative. Did you see that story? Did you read about that? You see that in the paper today? Kevin, did you see that? Did you read about that?
What is it, Jay? What do you got?
Democrat operative said he's been conducting mail fraud for decades. He's done it multiple times in every election possible in New Jersey. So
do you have to in New Jersey?
I don't know, but they've been doing it just in case.
Uh-huh.
And apparently they've swung a lot of elections. He said, 500 to 1,000 votes can swing some districts in favor of the other candidate. And so it's easy to do, he said. And if there's a postal service worker, if there's a mailman in a Republican district and he knows that 90% of the people in that district are Republicans, a lot of times he could just throw away all those mail-in ballots that he collects. Oh, dang it.
Oops. Yeah, we never played this video.
We just lost those.
Several weeks ago in Arizona, there's a sheriff's race. And a postal worker just decided, I don't like this guy running. And he took all of his pamphlets, all his flyers, and just put them in the dumpster behind the post office. Camera caught him. Jeez. I mean, those were flyers.
Yeah.
But they could easily have been ballots, completed ballots. Oh, whoops.
Easily could have been that.
And like you said, swing an election. But, okay, I'm going to throw you a curveball here. Let's say the Republicans take the House and we still don't have a winner on January 20th. Then your president is a Republican Speaker of the House. Ha-ha!
Well, we don't have a Speaker of the House in the Republican Party right now. They'd have to elect one first.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I said if the Republicans win the House, then they take their seat around January 4th or whatever.
Right.
And
have to come up with.
They'll have determined who the Speaker is at that point, and then ha-ha.
I mean, it's unlikely that we're going to retake the House.
Yeah. But 2020 has been one unlikely event after another.
Right. You never know.
So who knows?
You never know.
We're in trouble.
Sanders was talking about the mail-in vote a while ago.
Chuck, what you are witnessing is a president of the United States who is doing everything he can to suppress the vote, make it harder for people to engage in mail-in balloting, at a time when people will be putting their lives on the line by having to go out to a polling station and vote. So what Trump is saying is we're going to do everything we can. And this is not me talking.
Who is it talking?
This is what Trump himself said. Look, I have...
again, the look. Well, this is what Trump himself said. Look. No, Trump himself did not say that. He didn't say that. They keep misquoting him or just making up quotes that he supposedly said and attributing them to him. These people are the worst.
To think, as you know, that Trump is a pathological liar. He lies all the time. But I got to say, I got to admit that the other day he was very honest. He said, look, we want to kill mail-in balloting. We don't want millions and millions of people to be able to cast their ballots through the mail. So we'll destroy the Postal Service. We'll defund it. They can't vote.
Yeah, remember when he said he's going to destroy the Postal Service? Because I don't remember that speech. Yeah, I'm going to destroy the beautiful Postal Service. I don't remember that speech at all. We'll look for it, though.
But
see if we can find it really quick.
That a suppressed vote, a lower voter turnout, will work for him and that it will help him win the election.
Such bull crap. And what he's worried about is mail fraud. Is like this Democrat operative in New Jersey said, it's really easy to manipulate the vote when it's a mail-in ballot.
Yeah, look at this. This is the postal worker throwing away the Republican flyers. I think it was Arizona. Yeah.
Oh,
just
my
be like,
gosh.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think I'm going to be delivering these.
Never mind. Look at that. Like that doesn't happen? You see it happening right now.
Yeah, he's like, all right, well, my bag's empty. I'm going to go home early. Wow, how'd you get your route done so quickly today? I don't know, because I dumped half of my load in the dumpster out back of the post office.
That is really something. So did they find him and fire him? Hopefully.
Fire him.
Wow.
Government worker. He's probably got a pension going now.
That's probably true. Yeah, probably true. Wow. All right.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good times.
Boy, it's
good times.
Fun year, this 2020.
It is. We're having a really good time. All right, 888-900-3393. More Pat Gray Unleashed coming up.
Pat Gray.
That's me. Wow. 888-900-3393. Also at Pat Unleashed on Twitter, where B.S. Mariani tweets, I listen live, but because people think they can interrupt my morning ritual, I also listen to the podcast too. Oh, we love this person.
A twofer.
We love this person. B.S. Mariani, thank you. Don't want to miss a nugget of wisdom from Pat, Keith, Oh, and of course, Jeffy.
Oh, that must be a typo.
Because you never know when Jeffy will say, who among us? Petty Officer America tweets, can anyone cite an example of BLM actually helping a black life, a black family, or a black community? Absolutely not. I can't give you one example of that. There might be some. I'd never hear of them. Keep in mind, it's what, $1.5 billion organization? They've got over $1.5 billion in their coffers. So well funded. Wow. They can do pretty much whatever they want to. And they do. And everybody just goes along with the flow. Yeah, that's Black Lives Matter. They're really good because Black lives do matter. So let's keep going with them. Yeah. Have you looked at their website? No, I haven't looked at their website because Black Lives Matter. I already know that.
Do they have a website?
Yeah.
Remember that guy?
Yeah. Do they have a website?
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
What are you? Are you that dumb? Who doesn't have a website, man?
A couple other tweets here from No Scrumptious Cookies in Tampa.
Oh, no. Oh, you've been called out in Tampa.
Soon.
Really?
Soon, yeah.
How soon? I mean, is there a date we can hold you to?
Well, yeah, we're having the place is being built. We got to buy it, put the stuff in it, and then we'll be able to ship out enough cookies to do the whole country. So maybe 2 months-ish. 2 months, I would think.
So let's just say, hypothetically,
Mm-hmm.
I live in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
I want Scrumptious Cookies as a part of my Thanksgiving meal.
You should have it. Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty confident we could do it by Thanksgiving. Yes. Now, if you live in the 8 states or 9 states or whatever it is that we already service, you can go to scrumptiouscookie.com and place your order.
When you get into Guam?
That might be a while. Okay. Guam may be a while. We're worried that the cookies, they're so big, they might cause the island to tip over and capsize. So anyway, no scrumptious cookies in Tampa tweets. All right. So you're saying anyone cannot be a man or a woman if they choose to be? What's next? Are you saying that Sean King isn't black?
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. Libertarian Porcupine, I've always wondered what the English language sounds like to a non-English speaking person. Joe Biden helps me to have that experience. From Carl Smith, Joe Biden continually complains President Trump was late responding to the COVID crisis. I guess he should have quickly reacted as Biden, just as quickly reacted as Biden has to the violence in the streets. Yeah, they didn't say a word about it. I don't think he said a word about it until last week when they realized, oh my gosh, wait. You know what? The polls say people don't like violence in the street. Maybe we better speak out against it. Because he wasn't at all prior to this. What did Joe Biden ever say about the violence before this week or late last week? Did he condemn it at all? Not that I know of.
No.
Yesterday, he had some interesting things to say, too. He was in a big old empty, like, airplane hangar. Is that what that was?
I don't know where he spoke in Pittsburgh, but...
Check this out. He was there with the press. This was where he had that really difficult time getting out the 100-year death thing.
Yeah.
That's where he was to a completely empty place except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 little locations where there were reporters and journalists.
Members of the press with their
cameras
and notebooks and
whatnot.
Whatever. I mean, how many people do you think would have shown up there if they were invited?
Oh, I
think they would have filled that place?
At least 7.
7?
I think at least 7 people would have shown up.
Wow.
Yeah. It would have been jam-packed. You would have had to cram 7 people into there. So much for your social distancing if that would have occurred. So probably a good thing they didn't open it up.
What a crazy world, man.
But also, he had a really interesting question yesterday that he was asking because he's responding to the socialist stuff that President Trump is. I mean, President Trump's really got him reeling right now. Mm-hmm. He's got him responding to absolutely everything. He's totally on the defensive. So the Trump campaign is doing a really good job of that. So he was asking a question about whether or not he looks like what Trump is accusing him of being.
You know me. You know my heart. You know my story,
Right,
my
I do.
family story.
Pause it for a second.
Ask yourself.
Yeah, I know that your family's story of corruption, where you've enriched the lives and the coffers and the bank accounts of everybody in your family. Yeah, we know your family. You, Hunter, your daughter, your brother. Yeah, you enriched everybody around you. That's great. We do know your story. All right, let him continue.
My family story. Ask yourself.
All right.
Do I look like a radical socialist with a soft spot for rioters? Really?
Yes, really.
What? I want a safe America.
Oh, no.
Safe from COVID.
Safe from COVID.
Safe from crime and looting.
And then listen to this.
Safe from racially motivated violence.
Okay.
Safe from bad cops.
Uh-huh. Bad
Let
cops.
me be crystal clear.
Be crystal clear.
Safe from 4 more years of Donald Trump.
Oh, boy, there's the money line. Burn. There's the money line.
No, you didn't.
That's weird, too. What does a socialist look like? Aren't Democrats the ones that lecture us all the time on, you can't judge people by what they look like? Mm-hmm. Also, he didn't give a rat's anus about the riots, again, until late last week. He and his entire party supported them until last week when they got the polls that showed it was actually hurting them. I mean, listen to what Kamala Harris had to say about the riots.
Now, stop. They're not going to stop. And this is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware.
They're not going to stop.
They're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day.
Okay.
And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels. That this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not. And we should not.
Oh. Okay, so they're not going to let up.
No.
And they should not, and we should not. She wants the riots to continue. Okay, well, that's great. That's your vice presidential candidate right there.
Yeah, and she makes it sound like they're joined at the hip. Think about it.
She
said
sure did.
They should not, and we should not let up.
Right. That's all they've done, though. We played that montage for you. We should play that maybe next hour again because it's worth seeing multiple times, and it's worth everybody seeing it to show how they have encouraged these riots and this unrest. They've encouraged it every step of the way. I mean, you don't have to talk about dog whistles and all that nonsense. They are just flat out encouraging it. Let me tell you about Keeps. Takes 60 seconds to tell you about a way to keep your hair. If your hair's not looking as full as it used to, there is something you can do about it now. You don't have to just watch it all fall out. You could, or do some weird comb over. We see how that turns out for so many people. You don't want to have to do that, and you don't even have to go to your doctor for a hair loss treatment prescription. You get the same doctor recommended, FDA approved hair loss treatment, but Keeps offers the generic versions for about half the cost. And one more thing you'll love about Keeps, it's all online. You just answer a few questions, snap a few pics of your hair, and a licensed doctor will review your information and recommend the right hair loss treatment for you. Then it's shipped discreetly to your home. Why make unnecessary trips to the doctor and the drugstore when you can do it all from home? Plus, we'll get you started with a special deal. Go to keeps.com/Pat and get 50% off your first order. Keeps.com/Pat. That's keeps.com/Pat.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
We actually got a really cool, another cool mailing. People just keep sending us goodies. Look at how cool this foreigner shirt is.
Look at that.
Is that cool?
That is really cool.
That's nice.
Sure is.
Yeah. And then a whole bunch of foreigner paraphernalia.
Yeah, stickers and stuff. I mean, there's some great stuff in that little foreigner gift pack.
From Pathead Ken. On Twitter goes by Laugh Track. It's true. So
that's true.
Thank you for the foreigner stuff.
You can
really
wear
cool.
that to their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony at some point, right?
Right. Yes. When that happens, I'll be there with my foreigner shirt on and bells and stuff.
You would show it with bells on?
Yes. I think that's only appropriate.
Like,
right?
where would you wear the bells though? Because I always hear that. Like, I'll be there with bells on. Where are the bells?
Right around my neck. I think I'd wear it right around my neck. So, or do you put them on your shoes
Like,
so
I
they
don't know.
jingle as you go?
Yeah, that's my question.
I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I think I've got some time
to figure that one out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a story yesterday about how many books have come out about Trump since his election and how well they've been selling. Since Mary Trump's, she's the niece of President Trump, her memoir, Too Much and Never Enough, sold out in its first week, apparently. You might remember it sold right around 1 million copies in its first week, which hardly ever happens anymore. I mean, that's amazing. And a lot of the other titles have sold really well, like John Bolton's book. But what has come of them? You know, there was such a big buildup to the John Bolton book, and then came out, people read it, and what's the big revelation? Everybody thought, oh, okay, now Trump's in for it. John Bolton's got a tell-all. He's done now. Really? You don't hear a peep about it anymore.
And who's buying these books? Just people that already hate Trump to begin with, right?
Yes.
And they just want to be confirmed.
Definitely. Yeah. And so they are, but there's nothing staggering or stunning in there. Same with the Mary Trump book. She's known Donald Trump her entire life. And she hasn't even come out with anything that's interesting. Nobody's talking about her book now. It came out, it sold 1 million copies, but what happened when people read it? Nothing. Because there was no big fat revelation in there. Yeah, I think it's really incredible that they've come up with so many. I mean, you had Michael Wolff's Fire and Fury. You had Bob Woodward. You had Bob Woodward with Fear, and nothing ever came of any of them. What was the big, staggering, Trump-shattering revelation in any of those books? No, there wasn't one. Omarosa. She came out with stuff. She's known him for a long time. It's pretty amazing. I mean, I would have thought they would have had something from, 30 years ago or something to say. But not even that, it seems. So it's been kind of interesting to watch these books come and go and get hyped up by the media. Like, okay, now this is what we've been waiting for. This will finally end Trump. We won't have to put up with him anymore. He's going to be impeached when this one comes out. And nope, nothing. Still with us. So now what? Be interesting to see who's the next. Well, okay, Melania's ex-friend.
Oh yeah,
is coming out with a book, and she has something supposedly that Melania said that was negative about Donald and Ivanka. Yeah, we'll see if that amounts to anything. 888-900-3393. Also, in about 40 minutes, we're going to talk to Paul Kengor at 7:30. He's a professor of political science.
7:30 Central.
He wrote, 7:30 Central. That's a good point. Thank you, Keith. He wrote the book on Obama's mentor, Frank Marshall Davis, the communist. Now he's back with a book called The Devil and Karl Marx. Should be very interesting. A lot of interesting stuff about Karl Marx that nobody ever talks about. Right. I mean, we know about how bad his theories were. We know that. And we know that the carnage that has come from his ideology.
Yeah, and he wrote an accompanying op-ed in the American Spectator where he's like, how has Karl Marx avoided being canceled? He's a white European male.
Right.
I mean,
right.
So anyway, it's a great read, as is the book.
It's a great point. Racist, anti-Semite.
I mean, this guy is
despicable.
Every word.
Responsible now, really, his theories for 100 million deaths in the 20th century. Congratulations, Carl. You've left a really nice legacy. A really nice.
Isn't it amazing that the worst of the left are the ones that they just give a pass to? Karl Marx, Margaret Sanger. Those are the first two that came to mind for
Woodrow
me.
Wilson.
Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah. Who resegregated the military. Who really kind of reinvigorated the KKK.
Absolutely.
What was the name of the movie? escaping me.
Birth of a Nation.
Yes, Birth of a Nation. He even previewed that at the White House. I mean, the guy was a total and complete racist douchebag, and the Democrats have never had a problem with him. I think they finally took his name off of the halls of Princeton because they realized he's a total and complete racist, and you really can't defend the things he said. And they finally, during this latest uprising, they finally took his name off.
Yeah, but this insulation, this history of insulating Democrats that are racist and were bad people, like Al Gore's dad. Remember during the 2000 election, we didn't talk about Al Gore's dad being so, pro Confederate flag and all this stuff and anti the 1964 Civil Rights Bill, but yet George Bush wouldn't denounce the Confederate flag flying on the grounds of the South Carolina state capitol.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how they protect the worst among them because there's a D after their name.
Isn't it? But they do, because they're absolute hypocrites, and they really don't care about any of it. They just use it for their own political power. They just use it for their own gain, and they don't really care about it. Just like they don't really care about minorities in any way. They just want power. They just want minorities to rely on their handouts. 888-900-3393. Something interesting. The betting odds for the election have really tightened up. Ooh. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I remember seeing that Biden was way ahead in this too. I think it was like a 75% chance of him winning in the betting odds.
Okay.
Now, Biden's at 50.6%, Trump's at 49.1%. That's a virtual tie.
Wow, what have we been saying?
Wow.
Remember, we always reference back to Dukakis leading Bush.
Right.
Bush crushed him in 92, 88, right. 88.
That's why the Democrats are running scared right now and responding to everything Trump says. Welcome to it. Great to have you with us. Thanks for being here. 888-900-3393. Got some tweets at Pat Unleashed. Kevin Boyce tweets, they're mostly peacefully burning the Portland mayor's apartment complex. Yeah, they're not burning the whole city, just a lot, many parts of it. Scotty Sweatman tweets, is it me or does Bernie Sanders sound like George Steinbrenner from Seinfeld?
Yes.
From the Steve 42, I remember Biden's story, but $5 says Biden doesn't remember his story. Carl Smith, I figured it out. Those empty stadium seats featured in the Joe Biden ad belong to Democrats boycotting the national anthem. Carrot 3022 in Colbert's interview of Kamala, because you don't want to be a racist and pronounce it the way it looks and sounds, and everybody else in the world pronounces it. So in Colbert's interview of Kamala, notice how she literally leaps out of her seat with excitement about the terrorists in the streets. She can't contain her giddiness. It's disgusting. Yeah, she's hideous. Republic Mike tweets, hey, Pat, I was putting my son to bed last night. He started to sing to me with a lisp, you're despicable in every way. That's great. Sorry. Which of course, brings us to Notre Dame. Lou Holtz's it's not his alma mater, but he coached there. That's what his most famous head coaching position was at Notre Dame. He won a national championship there. I think 1977. Anyway, he delivered the speech last week, and it was a good speech to the Republican National Convention. And now Notre Dame is going after him because they're pissed off that he said Biden was Catholic in name only because of his abortion stance. So Notre Dame is trying to distance themselves from Lou Holtz. I mean, this is a Catholic institution. They called the criticism of Biden and his faith, well, Biden called it preposterous. And Notre Dame said that they don't condone it. They're not, they're all pissed off at Holtz. Holtz, though, is not really backing down from it. Here's what Lou had to say about what Notre Dame said about him.
I'm Lou Holtz. Many of you might know me as Coach Holtz, or maybe that football
We got the whole
guy.
thing?
It is a pleasure.
No, this is the actual speech from last week.
We don't want
Yeah, that's not the interview he did.
307 mark, right? That's where you wanted it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. That's not what I was looking for.
That's from
I was looking
the
for the
convention,
interview.
yeah.
Yeah. I think they picked the wrong one from that page.
Oh,
so, yeah, I wanted the interview.
Neat.
Where he did not back down from his stance, though. He said, look, I'm Catholic, and Catholics don't favor abortion. If you're looking for me to say abortion's okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. If you want me to say killing babies is okay, no, I cannot say that. Or in Lou Holtz way.
How did he say it?
If you want me to say killing babies is okay, no, I cannot say that. I'm not passing judgment on anybody's character, integrity. What I'm saying is, if you're pro-abortion, I'm opposed to you. I'm allowed to have my opinion, and don't try to silence me.
Boy, it worked out that we didn't pull the right clip, did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like this route better. Did you have anything else to say?
Better?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A lot to what?
A lot to say. There's an awful lot to say, and I'm going to say it because I'll tell you something else. Not just Joe Biden, but all Democrats are despicable. Inspires me to sing about it.
Yeah.
Screw you, Notre Dame. You're despicable. That's what you are. Yes, despicable. You're a Marxist star.
A star?
Star. Commie garbage permeates from you. Democrats and Notre Dame, it's you I'm talking to. Never before have you ever missed Al Gore. You're despicable in every way. You kill babies every single day. And that's why Democrats, it's incredible that someone so despicable thinks that I am so despicable too. But I'm not. I'm not, you are. So suck your toe all the way to Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Again, screw you, Notre Dame.
Do what?
Screw you. Fighting Irish. My anus.
Whoa. Yeah, when you listen to Lou Holtz talk, it's almost like you're trying to tune a radio. You know, you're like, am I off a frequency?
Right.
Like just a touch? Maybe
it's a little bit of sort of a phasing, sort of a splintered sort of thing at the end.
Yeah.
There, sort of
static
static. Bless his heart. He's great.
I love him.
He's
I love
great.
him. And he's bold and he's not backing down, and it's so rare these days.
Right.
So thank you, Lou Holtz.
Yes, because how many times does somebody speak out like that, and then somebody pushes back and they cave immediately?
Yep.
Drew Brees. I can't think of anybody right off the hand, Drew Brees, but, Drew Brees, I'm not sure, but I think it's happened in the past, Drew Brees, for one.
You have like a little...
What I have?
It's almost
the speech impediment sort of thing.
Like a Drew Brees Tourette's going on.
I mean, was there anybody who caved faster or harder or in a more complete way than Drew Brees? Oh man! So good for you, Lou Holtz. That is fantastic. He's sticking to his guns. So suck your toe all the way to Mexico, the rest of you people.
I must say, I've never heard that phrase, but I like it.
What?
Suck your toe all the way to Mexico.
What? You've never heard suck your toe all the way to Mexico?
No. Wait.
Really?
What was it? It was so,
suck your toe all the way to Mexico. You've never heard that before.
Is there something else? That sounds like circle, dot, now I've had my cootie shot.
Oh, see, I don't know that one.
Oh, must be a regional thing.
Yes.
I see.
We've grown up in different parts of the country.
And we've learned witty lines along the way, haven't we?
Yeah, really good things. Really, really good things that haven't had a chance to use since probably 4th grade. So that's great.
Ooh, maybe about 11th grade for me.
But they come in handy on this show, I'll tell you that, from time to time. So that's great. All right.
Yeah, life skills, baby.
888-900-3393 and at Pat Unleashed on Twitter. You know, the nature of the Democrats and how they're doing one thing and saying the other in such a transparent way. It's hard to believe that not every single person in this country sees through it. I mean, is there anybody that really thinks Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are desperate for the violence to stop, have wanted the violence to stop? Now, I asked earlier if Biden had ever said before last week anything about the violence, anything about stopping it. Apparently, producer Rob went to work to see if he could find something, and he found this from the Morning Cup of Postum with Joe and his squeeze or whatever that is.
Oh,
yeah. So let's
they put together all the times.
I think they put together all the times Joe Biden spoke out against the violence before last week.
Okay.
There's no place for violence. No place for looting or destroying
this was
property
June
or
2nd.
burning churches or destroying businesses. Many of them built by the very people of color who were the first time in their lives were beginning to realize their dreams and build wealth for their families.
All right, that's June 2nd.
Nor is it acceptable for our police, sworn to protect and serve all people, to escalate tension, resort to excessive violence. We need to distinguish between legitimate peaceful protests and opportunistic violent destruction. I said from the outset of the recent protests
July,
that there's no place
28?
for violence or destruction
7 weeks later?
Wait, that wasn't that last week?
No, that's last month.
And anarchists should
We're in
be
September.
That's right. Jeez.
And local law enforcement
Where
can
has the
do
time
that.
gone?
Are you Joe?
When President Obama and I were in office, we protected
It took
federal
7.5 weeks for him
We're
to
able
say
to do it without the Department of Homeland Security turning it into a private militia. And it could be done today. But that wouldn't help Trump's political interest.
Oh, please.
He's determined to stoke division and chaos.
All right.
That's unreal.
It's not good for the country. But Donald Trump doesn't care.
You might talk to your running mate about this. She's encouraging it, Joe.
He's looking for a political lifeline.
Wow.
This isn't about law and order. It's about a political strategy to revive a failing campaign. Every instinct Trump has is to add fuel.
So this is the history of Joe Biden denouncing. Here's number 3.
Is a right and absolutely necessary.
August 26th.
Burning
No,
down
16th.
communities is not
26th.
protest,
This is
it's
last week.
needless violence.
Now it is.
Violence that endangers lives.
Pause it for a second.
Violence.
Okay, so they found 2
We
before
got June
last week.
2nd, July 28th, August 26th. Right?
Yep. So other than last week,
And then was there
and
another?
August 26th qualifies as, I don't know, last week.
Yeah.
He had 2 times where he talked about it. He
Correct,
talked
yeah.
about it twice. Come on. Are you kidding me?
Come on, man.
Come on. Yeah, thank you.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
I didn't know you had that.
I mean, come on.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. He talked about it twice.
What do you want? Yeah, what I don't
More?
understand is how. Remember, it wasn't just a few weeks ago that Jerry Nadler was talking, saying Antifa was a myth. Right?
Yeah, right.
And that the riots in Portland and elsewhere, those are overblown. So
Right.
what is it? Is Trump sowing the seeds of fear and division that are causing all the violence?
Man.
Or is it overblown? Just depends on what day of the week it is, man.
Let's go back to the Democrats inciting all this violence. Look at this montage of Democrat operatives, Democrat journalists, and politicians all encouraging violence.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
And there
People
are.
need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Wow.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost,
Punch
he
him in the
insulted
face.
your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
Wow.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
I'd like to punch him in the
we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Oh my.
Jeez, man.
People in the face. When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
That's amazing, man.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
Decapitated Trump head.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
And your bathtub?
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station,
and you
create a crowd.
Pause it for a second.
Oh no.
And by the way, apart from all the other stuff, again, you gotta say, who calls it a gasoline station? No, but I haven't heard that since 1952.
Petrol station.
I need some gasoline. Attendant, can you fill her up with some gasoline, please?
Ding, ding.
All right, let's see the rest of this.
And you tell them they're not welcome anymore.
Tell them they're not, and they're doing that.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels.
I'm taking note.
They're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Wow. Jeez. That's incredible. Wow. And it's effective. I mean, people are being inspired by what they're saying. Look at the inspiration that happened in Baltimore as one young man decided to run up and not hit him in the face, but he hit him in the head with a brick. This is disturbing.
This is very disturbing, y'all.
Oh.
Knocked him out.
Jeez, that is
cold.
So horrific. Look at that. The guy just crumpled on the ground. Could have killed him. He could have killed. He runs up behind him like the freaking coward animal he is, and he bashes him in the head with a brick, knocking him cold, and he goes face first, full on into the pavement. That could have killed him dead. That he could be dead. Fortunately, I don't think he is, because when police showed up, he was gone. So was everybody else. So
horrific.
They didn't even know what happened to him. I don't know if somebody came and picked him up. I don't know if he woke up and just left.
You've got to keep your head on a swivel.
Wow, no kidding.
These days.
That is just disturbing. How can you have that little concern? And then the guys who were taping it from a block away, his friends, laughing, thinking it's great fun. Wow, have we been desensitized to human life? That is horrific.
Carrie.
888-900-3393. All right, let me tell you about OmegaXL. I've had all kinds of pain brought on by inflammation, and it's not pleasant. And the pain can't go away until the inflammation does. That's where OmegaXL comes in. This is backed by 35 years of clinical research. It attacks inflammation, shuts it off, and then your pain goes away. When the inflammation is gone, so is the pain. Really important to turn off the inflammation, too, because if it continues, it can cause joint damage, and you don't want that. So if you want something that really works, try OmegaXL. Maybe you've tried other things, the NSAIDs, the topical pain relievers. Those don't help me at all. They don't even cover the pain. But some of the other over-the-counter medication, like ibuprofen, they can cover the pain up for a little while, but they don't eliminate that inflammation. So give it a try. OmegaXL. When you order it now, you get a second bottle for free. Buy one, get one free. Visit OmegaXL.com/Pat. That's OmegaXL.com/Pat, or call 800-844-4888. 888-900-3393. Pat Unleashed on Twitter. Sherry Kaufman tweets, why aren't the feds visiting all these idiot leftists saying Trump should be harmed?
Right.
Really good question. I think they have visited some of them. It seems to me when Madonna said what she said, I think they did pay her a visit.
Oh, I'll look that up.
People were,
did they?
I think.
Was she in the bathtub with rose petals when they showed up?
Yes.
And they were like, you know what? We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Nothing serious going on.
We didn't need to see that. They can't unsee it. And now we're scarred for the rest of our lives. From Kitty's Hot Tin Roof Club. Gosh, I can't decide if Pat imitating Lou Holtz sounds more like Sylvester the Cat or Daffy Duck.
Wait, what? I don't get that at all.
No, I don't either.
What? No,
Jeez, I don't know what you're saying here at all. Sith Rhino, is it just me or...
What did I miss? What is this? What is this tweet?
This is an awesome observation. Is it just me, or has Lou Holtz been about 80 years old for the last 30 years?
That is awesome.
It is so
Is that how old he is?
Yeah, he's 83, I think.
Wow.
He's 83.
He's a young...
And he seemed like he was 83 in 1977 when he was coaching Notre Dame.
That is so true. He hasn't changed. Like his look.
He has not changed at all.
I've got
He sounds the same. He looks the same. He's the same guy he was 40 years ago.
Oh,
jeez.
I'll look up a picture of him from 1988. Literally the same guy. And by the way, the Secret Service did.
They did pay a visit.
Madonna,
yeah, I thought so. Speaking of football, college football.
I don't want to speak of college football.
Yeah, you do. No. Yeah, you really do. Because we're less than a week away from the opener.
Are we?
BYU Navy. A week from yesterday. Okay. 6 days from now.
Okay.
National television showdown. Prime time. BYU Navy.
Okay.
I know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't rub it in. Nebraska should be able to play. They should. I mean, it just sucks. Now, the Big Ten, the update on the Big Ten is that they may start playing. I mean, they've gotten so much flack. And despite the fact that Kevin, what's-his-face, the commissioner, Kevin Warren.
Kevin F. Warren. That's his name. I'm just telling you his name.
Okay, all right. Kevin F. Warren said they voted unanimously to not have the season, and we won't be revisiting it. Seems like they are revisiting, doesn't it?
Oh.
It seems like they are.
Don't get me started. I'm all over this, but yes, they finally were compelled by a court of law yesterday to reveal that there was a vote back in August 11th, and they said 11-3 presidents voted to suspend the season until the spring.
Oh, he said it was unanimous.
And so, no, he said it was unanimous later to say we're not going to revisit this. But the 11-3 vote was, it's been confirmed that it was Nebraska, Iowa, and Ohio State were the three dissenters back in August.
I can't believe Michigan was like, yeah, we don't want to play. We're not going to play. Maybe in the spring. Probably not, though, because that's too hard to work. We'll just sit home. Is that hard to believe? That's Michigan.
Yeah,
with the heritage and tradition of that school.
And the Whitmer as a governor who is...
Yeah.
So it's an absolute mess. And this commissioner, Kevin F. Warren, whose son is playing Mississippi State, SEC country, he has no leadership skills whatsoever.
Well, he's just like Lori Lightfoot in that he's got no sort of self-awareness that he's an absolute hypocrite.
Totally. Yeah.
It's just amazing.
And so now we're waiting to see if they're going to reveal that's the other thing in the lawsuit, the medical data that they used to make this decision.
Yeah. What were the experts? What did they tell you? What was the data that you used to make that determination? Well, we're going with the science. We're going with the science because science is going to dictate what we do.
I mean, so transparent.
Really?
The Big Ten doing everything they can to suppress the meeting minutes when they made that decision.
That's amazing.
So
and
we'll
the
see.
Parents are all pissed. If the parents hadn't been pissed, they would have been fine.
Right.
But the parents got really
parents
upset.
And some players.
They want their kids to play football.
Yeah. And the reason this has really been pushed is these 8 Nebraska players took them to court.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. So, people like Desmond Howard, Michael Wilbon, Pat Forte, that are
they're all wanting the season to stop.
Well, they're mocking Nebraska. They want Nebraska out of the conference, and they're the ones that are piecing this thing together. So,
but the end result looks like Big Ten might start around Thanksgiving, right?
Maybe
January, maybe October, maybe not at all.
Maybe never. We may never have college football ever again in the Midwest.
Forget the Big Ten completely. 888-900-3393. Great to have you with us. Thanks for being here. 888-900-3393. I already said that, right? So you know the phone number.
There it is.
Is there a phone number people can call, Ivan?
Right there in front of me.
All right, we got Paul Kengor joining us. Paul Kengor, you might remember, is the man who wrote the book on Frank Marshall Davis, Obama's communist mentor. Paul, welcome to The Blaze. Appreciate you being here.
Pat, it's great to be on with you again. Thanks.
Seems like Frank Marshall Davis' book was 1,000 lifetimes ago by now, doesn't it? I mean, so much has happened. It's unbelievable. Doesn't even seem like the same life.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, that book, it was titled The Communist. I think it came out in 2010, right?
Yeah,
so, wow, 10 years ago. And yeah, we did that through Mercury Inc. And it was, I remember, Pat, we put the actual, in fact, yeah, you had something to do with this. I think you were one of the guys that suggested this. We put Frank Marshall Davis, who was Obama's mentor in Hawaii in the 1970s. We put his Communist Party USA number on the front of the book. And I still I still remember it. The number is 47544, and I'm not looking right now. I'm not cheating. And that was typical because they had 5-digit numbers, and we talked about this, you and I and Glenn, and we felt. People are going to say, "Oh, how do you know he was a member of Communist Party USA?" Well, we even had the guy's 5-digit party number, right?
It's so great.
And it's amazing. I haven't done this in a while, but I'm sure if we checked, it would hold up. If you go to Wikipedia, people have emailed me about this over the years. If you look up Frank Marshall Davis at Wikipedia, I mean, at different times, they don't even mention that the guy was a communist.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
We did this almost 400-page book. We had a 600-page FBI file. I mean, the guy was a party member of all things, right?
He was an official communist. He was a card-carrying communist.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there have never been in America at any time in the history of Communist Party USA any more than like maybe 50,000 party members. I mean, there may be 1 million, say, small c communists, but to join the party and literally swear a loyalty oath to Stalin's Soviet Union, that was a big, big deal. And the guy that mentored Obama did that, of all things.
You mentioned that his Wikipedia page doesn't even mention he was a communist. Let me just tell you the first part of what it says. Frank Marshall Davis, then it gives his birth date or his lifespan. Was an American journalist, poet, political and labor movement activist, and businessman. No mention.
No, okay, so I've got the Wikipedia page up here, and I did a Control F search for communist. 3 references on the Wikipedia page. One is that the Spokane Daily Chronicle described his paper as a red weekly, saying it has the most of the markings of a Communist Front publication. There's a mention that he was investigated as possibly being a communist, and that's it.
That's amazing. Wow. That's incredible.
No. So, okay, look, his Chicago newspaper was called the Chicago Star, with a big red star on the front of it, right? Everybody called it the Red Star. Wow, this is coming back to me now like a nightmare. He testified before the Senate in December 1956, which was run by Democrats, and there he pleaded the Fifth Amendment. But I mean, everybody knew he was there's no doubt he was a communist.
Oh, absolutely.
There's just none at all. So when we were doing the book, right, I would say. Okay, so the question is, how much did he influence Obama, right? We could have a debate on that, right? But I mean, don't deny the absolute elephant in the living room.
Right. The guy was a card-carrying communist.
Right. And also, too, they want to say, oh, he was a civil rights activist. Okay, well, all right, yeah, he fought against discrimination. I think, that's cool. And then the next step is to say, oh, well, you're smearing him as a communist because he fought for, so you know what you are? You're a racist, right?
Right.
It's nutty, and it's one of those deals where it's so frustrating as a biographer, right? That book literally made the New York Times bestseller list, and I don't know if you could search this quickly. Is the book even mentioned on the Wikipedia page?
Oh, I doubt it. We'll check into that.
Let me look.
It's one of like 2 biographies of Frank Marshall Davis.
We'll look into that.
Right? And our imprint at Mercury, it was an imprint of what, Simon and Schuster.
Yeah.
It's not like the book was published by Wacko Press, right?
That's right.
No, it's not mentioned. No.
We're talking to Paul Kengor, who is a professor of political science at Grove City College in Grove City, Pennsylvania. He's the author of a bunch of books, not just the Frank Marshall Davis book. And his latest is The Devil and Karl Marx. Now, this is really important, too, because now we're getting to the heart of the matter of what's going on, really, in the United States of America, with people turning to Marx and Marxism. And so many young people who think that socialism and communism are wonderful. They're all about equality and the little man. They have no idea about the history of communism and the man who in part founded it with Engels, Karl Marx. And they don't understand that communism itself is evil. So give us a thumbnail sketch of just who Karl Marx really was.
Well, the title of this, Pat. So I mean, I wrote books like God and, right? God and Ronald Reagan, God and George W. Bush, and this phrase, right? The devil and, you have the devil and Daniel Webster. It's kind of a classic phrase, but it fits in the case of Marx because Marx literally wrote about the devil. And I opened the book. I have a couple of different stanzas from different poems that he wrote. I mean, the guy wrote poetry about the devil, and one was called "The Pale Maiden," 1837. And this one I think is really striking because I believe it's partly autobiographical in his case. He wrote, "Thus heaven I've forfeited. I know it full well. My soul, once true to God, is chosen for hell." I mean, it's pretty chilling stuff.
Wow.
And there's I know. And there's another one he wrote called "The Player" in 1841. "Look now, my blood-dark sword shall stab unerringly within thy soul. The hellish vapors rise and fill the brain till I go mad and my heart is utterly changed. See the sword, the prince of darkness sold it to me." I mean, that's pretty chilling stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I mean,
wow.
he fancied himself a poet. If he even said if he wouldn't have been a philosopher, by the way, he was a pretty crappy philosopher.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And an even worse economist. We wouldn't even need to go there. But he he was kind of like like Hitler really wanted to be a painter, right? Marx really wanted to be a poet, and this is what drove him. He had this kind of infatuation with the dark side. He had a favorite line which appears again and again in his writings, not just his poetry, but it's a line from Goethe's Faust, which was his favorite play. And Mephistopheles, the devil character in this Faustian bargain, he said, "Everything that exists deserves to perish. Everything that exists deserves to perish." And Marx loved that line. And people who were around him said he would literally chant, not just recite, but chant the lines from Mephistopheles in Goethe's Faust. So he had this really
creepy. That's creepy.
Really creepy dark side, and more than one biographer of Marx, including kind of the biographer. His name was Robert Payne. He wrote a biography of Marx, almost 50 years ago. Actually considered, was this man possibly possessed? And I don't go there. I don't know that, right? To borrow from Barack Obama, that's above my pay grade, right? But he clearly had an infatuation with this dark side, and I think it shows up not just in his poetry, but frankly, his ideology and what communism left to the world.
Absolutely. All right, we're with Paul Kengor. He's written The Devil And Karl Marx, we're going to get deeper into the book and who this man was in just a second. First, let me tell you about Real Estate Agents I Trust. When you're trying to sell your home, you know it's a massive challenge, really hard to do. And especially if you're relocating, you got to sell and you have to buy the other end of the equation. That's where Real Estate Agents I Trust come in. The name kind of says it all. You can trust these people. This is Glenn's company. And so he and his team have really vetted these agents to make sure that they've got really great track records, really great marketing plans, and they know what they're doing. So they can advise you on whether or not your house needs to be painted to resell, or you need to replace the countertops. Whatever it is, they can advise you because they're the ones who know the market and know what people are looking for in a home. So either way, whether you're buying or selling or you're doing both, Real Estate Agents I Trust. The name, again, says it all. RealestateAgentsITrust.com,
RealestateAgentsITrust.com. You're listening to Pat Gray Unleashed.
Paul, not a surprise that Karl Marx would have been fascinated with Satan, because I firmly believe, and in my faith we believe, that communism is of Satan. It's force. It removes choice from people. It brings misery and destruction. And so it would make complete sense that Marx was fascinated with the devil, wouldn't it? I mean, that just makes sense to me.
Yeah, it would. In fact, my faith as well, I'm Roman Catholic, and I could point to encyclicals going back to 1846. It's 2 years before the Communist Manifesto was even published. Mm-hmm. And the Catholic Church referred to it as a satanic scourge.
Wow.
Orchestrated by the sons of darkness, and thought that this was quite literally a flat out demonic ideology. And I actually have a quote here from Robert Payne. He was the biographer of Marx. This is a Simon Schuster published this. This was a British literature professor. This guy wrote on the arts, poetry. He was no right winger, all right? Mm-hmm. And he wrote this: there were at times when Marx seemed to be possessed by demons, right? He had the devil's view of the world and the devil's malignity. Sometimes he seemed to know that he was accomplishing works of evil. Phrases like, I will howl gigantic curses at mankind, Marx wrote. I will howl gigantic curses at mankind. So again, I don't go so far as to say, well, I know that about Marx, but we know about his atheism, and I detail examples like the Pitești prison in Romania, the communist prison where they literally tortured religious believers. They did black masses. They took priests and they made priests consecrate feces in the form of communion wafers and shove them in the mouths.
Oh my gosh!
It is stuff that is so sick.
Wow!
And truly diabolical that you read it.
It is.
And listen, any liberal, leftist, progressive listening now, I'm telling you, you read that. Have the honesty to sit down and read that, and even you will walk away and say, okay, all right, this is evil. Right, I can't deny this is evil. Now, to what extent you want to link it to Marx? Okay, Marx personally, fine, we could have that debate. But that kind of activity, and let's not forget being responsible for the deaths of 100 million people.
Right,
communist ideology. That's double the combined death toll of World War I and World War II. That's pretty hideous.
Now, how does Karl Marx, and for that matter, virtually all of the heroes of the left, how do they get away with being anti-Semitic, with being racists, as Marx was, both anti-Semitic and racist, and they're still revered by the left?
Yeah, it's a great question. In fact, here's a pop quiz for you and the audience, and I'll read the quote, and then you get a choice of two people. All right, quote: "The emancipation of the Jews, in the final analysis, is the emancipation of mankind from Judaism."
Oh, wow.
So a clue, he's a German.
Mm-hmm.
No, not Hitler, Karl Marx. Karl Marx, right? The final analysis, the emancipation of mankind from Judaism. And here's another one. This union of Jew and German on a Negro base was bound to produce an extraordinary hybrid. That's Marx. Here's another. And Marx here is talking about his son-in-law, who he referred to as the guerrilla or Negrillo, because he was from Cuba. And so he had some Negro blood in his veins. Marx wrote, he has the blemish customarily found in the Negro tribe. That is, no sense of shame, by which I mean no sense of shame about making a fool of oneself. And I picked that one, Pat, because we don't want to anyway, but we can't use the N-word on the air. And Marx's writings are he uses the N-word, and Marx's writings are just littered with some of the most nasty anti-Semitic statements that you can imagine. And he gets away with it because he's Marx, he's a man of the left, and the left lets him get away with it.
I don't understand that. They try to hold everybody else accountable for that, but any of their own heroes, Margaret Sanger, Karl Marx, Woodrow Wilson, all these people who are absolute racists, and in fact wanted to eliminate minorities. In the case of Margaret Sanger, through eugenics, they get a complete pass, and you can't even speak about that.
Right. And in fact, if leftists were consistent, right, you would have students right now in universities pounding on the office doors of professors with busts of Marx in their offices, right? So take that down. He's a racist, right? And part of it too. You mentioned Sanger. A connection here is that Sanger, like Marx and like Engels, was a very strict atheist, Darwinian evolutionist. And there's very much a kind of eugenics aspect to this. And they were talking about Marx and Engels were talking about Paul Lafargue. Now, Paul was Marx's son-in-law, the one from Cuba, and Lafargue had been a political candidate for a council seat in Paris. It was a district that contained a zoo. And so in a letter to Paul's wife, which would have been again Marx's daughter, Engels wrote this about her husband, quote, being in his quality as that of and here he used the N-word, that is, a degree nearer to the rest of the animal kingdom than the rest of us, Paul is undoubtedly the most appropriate representative of that district, unquote. And Engels, like Marx, they were very scientific about this, right? He averred that Paul had, quote, 1/8 or 1/12, N-word blood. So these guys would sit there and kind of, their Darwinian accuracy say, I wonder how much of a, N-word he is. I wonder how much Jewish blood he has. And they would write about this. And I got to give you one more quote here from Marx on Jews. What is the worldly cult of the Jew? Haggling. What is his worldly god? Money. Money is the jealous god of Israel, before whom no other god may exist. And he said, the Israelite faith is repulsive to me. That's Marx. Wow. So again, Pat, how do they get away with this?
Yeah.
If you have one quote like that, from a Donald Trump or a Ronald Reagan,
oh my goodness,
John Wayne, right? They're toast.
Oh my goodness,
they're done.
I mean, people have lost their livelihoods for far less than that being tweeted 7, 8, 10, 12 years ago.
Right.
I mean, and you're
Absolutely
just done in society. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
Paul, explain who the Bolsheviks were and the history of the Bolsheviks' war on religion. Yeah,
they were hideous. In fact, they pursued what Mikhail Gorbachev called a war on religion. That's Gorbachev's own phrase. Gorbachev, of course, didn't approve of it, but he said, our early predecessors conducted a vile attack on religion. And Lenin said, quote, all worship of a divinity is a necrophilia. So, folks, you might want to Google necrophilia. He said there is nothing more abominable than religion. Religion is the opiate of the masses, like Marx said. It's a kind of spiritual booze, right? Spiritual booze. And also, for our woke Christians out there right now, religious left types who are talking about how, communism and, really was seeking to do the work of Christianity. Lenin, Trotsky, Engels, Marx, on and on. Nikolai Bukharin said communism and religion are incompatible. Marx said communism begins where atheism begins. So the idea to these guys that the two could be paired was ridiculous, right? These two had nothing in common. A good communist must, in fact, be an atheist. That's what Lenin said.
How have the communists infiltrated churches and religious groups?
Yeah, that was one of the most shocking things I laid out in this book. In fact, really the longest section, I think it's part 4. It's about 5 chapters. It's even longer than the section on Marx, because really the book should be called The Devil and Communism. It goes beyond Marx. But the infiltration of churches, Pat, was quite striking. And they went after the mainline Protestant denominations in particular. And the 3 big targets were the Episcopal Church, the United Methodist Church, and what became Presbyterian Church USA. They also targeted the Catholic Church. They had much less success there, but the Episcopal Church, United Methodist Church, PCUSA, they did well. They did astonishingly well. And the group in the United Methodist Church, it was the Reverend Harry Ward. It was called the Methodist Federation for Social Action, which we call, today Methodist Federation for Social Justice. Social action was another word for social justice. And it was a communist front group, the Reverend Harry Ward. And by the way, the Reverend Harry Ward was a co-founder, along with Roger Baldwin, of a little something called the ACLU. So yeah. And wow. Here's a quote from Earl Browder, General Secretary of Communist Party USA, speaking to Union Theological Seminary in New York, February 1935. Quote, "You may be interested in knowing that we have preachers active in churches who are members of Communist Party USA." So not just preachers who are sympathetic, but members. Members.
Yeah, we've gone a long way down that well. It's really amazing. We have about a minute left. How do we get young people to understand these things? They think socialism and communism are cool. They think they're about equality. How do we get the message through to them?
Well, it's not easy, and this has been a frustration of mine for 30 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall. And AOC was, 4 weeks old when the Berlin Wall fell, right? Mm-hmm. And you wonder, how can people like her believe what they believe?
Yep.
Well, it's the educational system.
Yeah.
And so
they've taken almost complete control of the educational system.
And
it's
so
amazing.
all that we can do is respond with shows like yours, The Blaze, the Blaze Network, TV, radio, web, and
your book.
Have to, thank you. Mm-hmm. Just have to educate.
Yep.
And we've got to try to do some remedial education for where our K through 12 public schools and universities have completely failed.
Paul, appreciate it. The book is The Devil and Karl Marx. We're gonna put a link to it on our Twitter page.
It's at
right
Pat
now.
Unleashed. At Pat Unleashed.
And we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, Paul.
All
appreciate
right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
I mean, that's chilling stuff. That is chilling stuff. Now, I guess it shouldn't be much of a surprise that Karl Marx was all about Satan, right? Because look what has come from him. By their fruits ye shall know them.
Pat Gray, only on the Blaze Radio Network.